Are we about to see projects like Hedera be completely plug and played within the US financial system? This is something that I have been talking about for quite some time now on the channel since the new year started because of all of the pro crypto discussions, the, foot on the gas around crypto regulation and even stablecoin legislation. And I just feel as if right now is probably one of the best times to be focused on projects that already have real world applications tied to them and proof how efficient the network actually is. And Hedera definitely is at the top of that list. We have a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's first and foremost talk a little bit about the market, right? Price action over the last month when it comes to a lot of crypto projects kind of looks like this. Very boring, very flat, not a lot of expansion. And this is probably going to continue to happen until Bitcoin makes a new all-time high on the chart and until we start to see Bitcoin dominance dropping. My main overall view here on Bitcoin breaking to a new all-time high, probably around like the end of this month. I think that altcoins really start to move heavy in the summer. And I've talked to you guys about this. I've outlined it. If you guys do want more real-time updates on this, join the Discord down in the description below. You won't regret it. The premium side is absolutely crazy as well. There's a lot of value in there with posts coming from myself and a few other team members. So if you guys do want to be a part of that, you guys are more than welcome to. But overall, I'm still very well expecting a massive year for a lot of these projects, including, of course, HBAR. Outside of that, though, let's actually dive on in to some of the big updates that Hedera actually did post recently. And they put a huge highlights newsletter out. If you guys do want to go check it out, you guys are more than welcome to. But we have here big updates from Hedera, industry-leading collaborations, enterprise blockchain momentum, hackathons, and more. Number one, Chainlink and Hedera. So Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol, CCIP, is live on Hedera mainnet. Developers can now build secure cross-chain apps across 46 plus blockchains, big boost for DeFi and tokenized assets, which was definitely a big one. On top of that, the Hedera Asset Tokenization Studio, which we already know how big tokenization has been this year, wins top financial innovation for 2025. This is built with Red Swan, Hashgraph, and even IO builders. The studio paves the way for tokenized bonds and equities. On top of that, Hedera Agents Hackathon, $30,000 in prizes, AI-powered Web3 projects, and the deadline is the 2nd, so today. And this is definitely a big one to focus on because I'm sure that we're probably going to see a lot of names added to Hedera. And some expansion of the ecosystem as well. And of course, AI being as big as it is, definitely a big +1 for Hedera. On top of that, we also had the Hedera Hashathon. This is the Nairobi edition. Announces winners: Hedgehog, stock-backed lending, Orion, mobile-first stock trading, and then NSE Chain Bridge, Web 2 and Web 3 bridges. A lot of stuff happening. And then, of course, Hedera takes Paris Block Week. Panels and keynotes from leaders featuring Charles Atkins on tokenization and governance, Mika Alliance, and then also HBAR from Hashgraph. So a lot of stuff happening, a lot of events happening, and this has all happened over the last couple weeks. So, you love to see it. I think that we are going to continue to see Hedera become a much bigger name in this space and probably, a lot bigger updates happening as well around Hedera throughout this year. So I'm definitely excited about that. I think that's going to be, something to definitely watch for it being an HBAR holder, just how, successful Hedera becomes this year. Even more than it has already been. I mean, this has been a huge year for a lot of these great projects, like even XRP, Algo has been, doing very well, XLM, QNT as well. So love to see it. On top of that, we also have over here, now this is just a 15-second long clip. There's a full live stream on this, but this is actually Hedera's CPO, their Chief Policy Officer. They joined a few people from Circle, the IDB Lab, and even CSIS. And this is actually at the CSIS Global Development Forum for a powerful conversation on how technology is transforming global access to financial services. With 1.4 billion adults still unbanked, the world needs scalable, inclusive solutions. And of course, we've talked about banking the unbanked for so long. I think Ripple was like one of the first ones to really kind of start mentioning that. And now it's a very prominent thing that a lot of these companies in this space actually want to target. But check this out.
One that's maybe a little less obvious is that with crypto, you are able to program it. Mm-hmm. So if you have a smart contract and certain components in the smart contract amount, it can automatically go through. One that's...
So yeah, I mean, listen, when we are thinking about, this type of technology, what it can offer, what it can do, Banking the Unbanked even is documented from very prominent names. Even, we always look at like the BIS, we look at the World Economic Forum. Even the IMF has also stated this as well. And I just think that I think that this continues to become spotlighted by these very large organizations. But I also think that it's something that's becoming, very real. I mean, even some great projects like Telcoin are starting to do this through just mobile phones. And that's the best way to really achieve mass adoption is by just tapping into mobile phones because, most of the world has a phone and being able to just bank them through a mobile phone like this, it's a game changer. So when we think about that, Hedera is definitely at the top of the list because of how efficient it is to transact on Hedera, and it makes a lot of sense. Outside of that, last week as well, their CPO at Hedera spoke on the digital assets panel at the USIS Forum's US India Economic Forum themed Future Forward, Navigating Finance, Innovation, and Economic Growth in 2025. She joined industry leaders David Steer from DLA Piper and even the IMF News. Now, this is interesting. Tommaso Mancini Grifoli, which if you guys don't know that name, I'm going to show you guys why you should. And then, of course, Nucleus Software's Parag Bice, I hope that I'm saying that name correctly, to discuss building a secure, inclusive digital asset future. Thank you to US-India Strategic Partnership and also Malaki Nugent for leading this critical conversation. Now, again, Tommaso is a very interesting name because he's one that's been on a lot of major articles and even PDF files from the International Monetary Fund. Back in June of 2021, there was a document that was titled A New Era of Digital Money. And this is actually from Tobias Adrian, which has connections back to Ripple. And then, of course, Tommaso Mancini Grifoli. And if we're looking into this, we have digital forms of money could be a boon for emerging market and lower income economies if the transition is well managed and regulated. And we have here digital money has the potential to transform the financial sector. Emerging markets and lower income countries stand to gain the most from this dramatic shift. Broad and inexpensive access to digital money and phone-based transactions could open the door to financial services for 1.7 billion people without traditional bank accounts. And that's what I was saying, right? Like mobile phones is the key to all of this. And even they're saying phone-based transactions could open that door. And yeah, I do think that this is something that everyone should be paying attention to, especially if you hold, cryptocurrencies like HBAR or even Telcoin, because, these are the types of networks and projects that are really focused on the mobile phone banking of, 1.7 billion people. And, it definitely does come at a risk, as they're saying. There's a lot of things that need to be targeted. But over 4 years later, in 2025, this continues to become something that all of these risk factors are kind of alleviated at this point because they've been targeted in so many ways. But, again, it's very clear that Hedera is sitting at the table with some of the, most prominent names. And also there's a lot of things that they are, talking about over here where we have like the future of currency in a digital world, from stablecoins to central bank digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, digital dollars for online tea. And then of course, Dear Mom, Forget the Cash. And this is actually a letter talking about CBDCs. And this is actually from Tommaso Mancini Grifoli back in spring of 2021, where he was actually explaining CBDCs to his mom. But it's crazy because like this is all from the IMF, where they are talking about, digital currencies, how everything's going digital. And then of course you have Hedera fully focused on this and speaking next to these types of individuals that have talked about this problem for so many so many years. And it's just crazy to see this. It's really crazy to see the connections between Hedera and some of these very large names. Now, talking more so about that, let's talk about another way to mass adoption, which is, of course, through major prominent names of like enterprise. One enterprise name can have connections back to tens of millions of customers, which is immediately, getting exposed to DLT or blockchain if they are tapped in. But we have here from the Hashgraph. Hashgraph doesn't need hype. It just works. What I have experienced with Hedera, they have a very sophisticated, a very simple and clean approach. You don't need to talk much about the technology. This is from PWC, blockchain lead on why real world businesses are choosing Hedera. Check this out.
Glad that you brought this point. So I think with Hedera, we are working really on the topic of sustainability, which is at the moment, very much hot because of the incoming regulations. And I mean, as I already discussed about, one of the key use cases is the digital product passport, right? So digital product passport, we spoke quite a lot about the battery, but there are a number of regulations like textile, electronics. Those industries are also coming into the next 5 years in place. The regulations are coming in place, right? And also not to forget, a lot of products like palm oil, wood. So I think that also comes under the EUDR regulation. So it's basically the deforestation regulation where the suppliers need to prove how they procured those stuff. And I mean, what I have experienced with Hedera, they have a very sophisticated and a very simple and clean approach, right? As I was mentioning before, that you don't need to talk much about the technology, right? Because the business doesn't need to understand the technology. And I think I have worked on multiple, opportunities with them where they had a very clean approach where we can explain to the CXO, like, okay, that's the thing how you work. So I think this is really going to be a key game-changing element or use case for Hedera, to be honest, along, and that's why we are working also with them to enable those supply chain use cases. So I mean, it's a big topic of digital product passport, but there are a number of regulations which you can solve, under this umbrella. So I think there is EUDR, right? There is EUBR, so better regulation. Then there is EU Green Deal, right? Where there are reporting compliance. So I think depending on how, I mean, there is no one size fit all, right? I think depending on the size of the company, what they want to do, where they stand, what is really the current existing IT infrastructure, we can enable that and define how we can solve this particular technology, because I think the key bottom line is how do we enable the whole ecosystem and the value chain to get on board and have this data transparency.
Now, what's crazy about this is coming from PWC confirming that they have a lot of these supply chain based applications, working with Hedera right now currently. And what I find crazy about this is when we look at a company like PWC, right? This is where you could actually see that they power 86% of the global Fortune 500 companies because they've all received services from PWC firms in 2024. On top of that, they are a massive company. They have over 105,000 plus people joining PWC firms around the world in a single year. Their revenue is over $55 billion, which, by the way, this was their gross revenue for the year ending on June 30th. Who knows how much it was for the entire year of 2024. But it's crazy because this is a company at this size that's working with 86% of the Fortune 500, tapping into Hedera for specific use cases. And they're even talking about how easy it is to use Hedera tech. This kind of reminds me back to ServiceNow, right? Back in 2021 into 2022, ServiceNow was a huge name. A lot of people kind of forget about ServiceNow, but I've mentioned them here and there on the channel because ServiceNow cannot be forgotten about, because we still know that this is these things take time. This is almost 4 years back, and this is when ServiceNow joined the Hedera GC, but ServiceNow and Hedera were enabling cross-organizational digital workflows. Now again, if we're thinking about how big some of these companies are, ServiceNow is also working with 85% of the Fortune 500. And we even have, when our customers work, 85% of the Fortune 500 have modernized their technology with us. See how a digital-first business model enables our customers to innovate at scale and speed. Every single major company on the Fortune 500 list is looking to digitize. They're looking to speed up and scale their business flows. The best way to do that is through digital workflows. And even PWC, when they're focused on these supply chain use cases and they're tapping into something like Hedera, they're doing so to improve the business model. That could be through specific efficiencies, unlocking trapped capital, unlocking revenue services, streamlining things, automating things. At the end of the day, this is all made possible through Hedera. And if we're thinking about a lot of those companies are based around the US. Even the US right now is going fully automated, fully digital. And, again, it's something that I am fully focused on with Hedera. Not to mention that, a lot of the players that Hedera is actually tapped in with, in the US, it's all based around US grade policy. So they're already fully compliant in the US. They're a US based company. It makes sense for Hedera to be tapped in a big way if the US is serious about crypto and going digital and things like that. And yeah, I mean, listen, the Fortune 500, in my opinion, is going to be tapping into DLT and blockchain in a very significant way over the next 12 to 24 months. And Hedera is a leading name on that list. And I think everyone should be paying attention to Hedera at this current point in time. And it's because of all the connections, all of the big moves that they've been making. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.